Hello everybody and welcome to the weekly countdown of the top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan, this being for the week of October 23rd to the 29th of 2017. We have 7 new entries on the list this week. A bunch of titles that have hung in there for a couple of weeks have finally kind of fallen off of the list, and only 3 from last week managed to hang in there. So let's get right into it. So at number 10, with 5,115 copies sold, Volume 12 of Overlord. So of course a former number 1 has hung in on the list for the past couple of weeks. Phenomenal series. I say it every single time I talk about it on this countdown. It is a great series, probably one of my favorites that has to do with the whole trapped in a game type world, and definitely one of my favorite isekai just in general. It is, of course, being released in English by Yen On. We have up to Volume 5 released. Volume 6 is coming out, I believe, in December or January. Actually, I think it's January, but very, very soon we will have another volume. I just finished Volume 5. It was a part 1 of 2-part story. Great volume. Check out the review, or heck, don't even bother watching the review. Just go and buy the book. It's totally worth it. Of course, anime series, we have a second season going to be premiering in January, and probably by that point will have been caught up in the English releases of the books. They'll be caught up to the books that have been covered in the anime, so that's pretty cool if you are like me and want to be able to read ahead before you actually watch the anime. At number 9, with 5,553 copies sold, Volume 21 of Kino no Tabi, The Beautiful World, or of course Kino's Journey. This again, the anime, there is sort of a revival anime that's currently showing. Crunchyroll is streaming it. It is showing in Japan right now. Sort of almost like a reboot, I guess, of, they did a anime based on the series a number of years ago. This one, it's sort of like just a restart. You don't need to have watched the previous anime. A lot of you have said that sort of the series, each book is very sort of a standalone type story, so even the anime itself, like each episode isn't necessarily connected, and that's why they can sort of feature different stories in this sort of revival anime than they did in the previous one, because it isn't just one big, huge, overarching type story. Obviously seems to be a pretty popular title in Japan, but I'm pretty sure that the anime hasn't exactly hurt the sales of volume number 21. Unfortunately, this is not a series that we currently have licensed in English. And to be honest, even if we do get it licensed in English, it will take us probably the next decade to catch up to the number of volumes that are already out in Japan. At number 8, with 5,692 copies sold, it's actually a brand new series. It's a volume 1, and that is Inaka no Home Center Otoko no Jiyuu na Isekai Seikatsu, which is Country Home Center Man's Free Foreign Life. It's an isekai, shocking. While doing do-it-yourself with production skills and physical strengthening alone, I will live freely in a different world. Due to a bet between gods, 36-year-old Narumi Yuya, a rural home center employee, was brought to a different world. In exchange for an unreasonable world transference, a goddess gave him the abilities of production skills at the general life level and physical strengthening only. Masaru, a former home center employee, uses modern do-it-yourself knowledge and starts to live in a different world with little expectation for the title Unrivaled Production Love and Skill Collector. Because it is a different world, I will do as I want to do, free. Masaru's intriguing different world life, starting with production skills and a little physical cheat. So basically, a Home Depot employee gets sent to a different world and then uses the skills he has as a Home Depot employee to build stuff. Like, that's kind of what it sounds like to me. But hey, I mean, you know, it's, I guess, a slightly different take on the whole isekai. It's kind of funny to see, like, how they went so far with the whole, I'm a slime, I'm a spider, I'm a vending machine. And now it's like, yeah, I'm a home building employee. Anyway, that is at number 8, and of course, brand new series, so no animes, no manga, no probably even discussion about bringing it over here and doing it in English. As much as J-Novel Club in particular has been pretty good at picking up series that are still relatively early in their run, there's usually got to be at least, say, 3-4 volumes out before any company seems to really want to dedicate itself to picking up a series in English. Of course, there's always exceptions, but for something like this, I don't know if we're ever going to see this one in English or not. At number 7, with 5,704 copies sold, Volume 2 of Naze Boku no Sekai wo Daremo Oboeteinai no Ka, which is kind of roughly translated to, why does no one remember the previous world? The era when the great race of the 5 tribes competing for hegemony on the ground ended with the victory of mankind led by hero Cid. However, that world was suddenly overwritten in front of a boy, Kai. In the rewritten world, Kai saw the scene where humans lost to the 5 tribal wars because of the absence of hero Cid. Here, dragons and demons dominate the ground, and Kai is a forgotten existence from all human beings. However, after encountering a mysterious girl, Rine, Kai decides to break this rewritten destiny. In a world without heroes, he inherits the hero's sword and martial art and challenges the mighty enemy races who reign. So, fantasy series, it actually sounds kind of cool to me. So I guess the whole idea is, this one kid, for whatever reason, manages to not be overwritten and then decides that because the world has become such a horrible place for humans, he is going to take up the mantle of hero that was previously lost and try and turn the tide. I'd actually be really interested in reading this series if it was ever brought out in English. Of course it's not. I mean, it's a relatively new series. This is only volume number 2. But who knows? Maybe it'll get big enough. Still pretty too early to tell, but I like the setup. The setup sounds kind of cool to me. It sounds like it could be a really kind of cool fantasy series. At number 6, with 7,835 copies sold, volume number 8 of Izakaya Bottakuri, which is also translates roughly to Izakaya Rolling. Now, an izakaya is a type of Japanese bar in which there's a variety of small, typically inexpensive dishes and snacks, which are kind of just served to accompany the main feature, which is alcoholic drinks. I really couldn't find any information on this series, which seems kind of weird to me, seeing as how this is the 8th volume, and I mean, it's obviously popular enough that it's hitting a top 10 list. But it just seems to me that maybe it's stories about revolving around this one particular bar, or maybe it's set like with a particular character whose dream it was to open a bar, and it's showing that. I mean, it strikes me very much that could be the kind of story it is. If you're familiar with this series, by all means, let me know what it's about in the comments down below. I had a hard time finding, in fact, oddly enough, Amazon.co.jp didn't even have a description of volume 1 that I could try to run through a translator. It was kind of difficult to find anything. So, like I said, if you know, let me know in the comments down below. At number 5, with 7,917 copies sold, volume 16 of Mushoku Tensei, Isekai Ittara Honki Dasu, or aka Jobless Reincarnation. It will be all out if I go to another world. No license for the light novels. However, the manga series is licensed and being released by 7 Seas. They just released volume 6 of the manga on October 24th. A 34-year-old NEET otaku, chased out from his house by his family, found that his life is reaching a dead end. He then recalled that his life could actually have been much better if he had made better choices in the past. Just when he was at the point of regret, he saw a truck moving at fast speed and 3 high schoolers in its path. Mustering all the strength he had, he tried to save them and ended up getting run over by the truck, quickly ending his life. The next time he opened his eyes, he was reincarnated to a world of sword and magic as Rudius Greyrat. Born to a new world, a new life, Rudius decided that, this time, I'll really live my life to the fullest with no regret. Thus starts the journey of a man yearning to restart his life. This reminds me a little bit of The Faraway Paladin. I mean, there's a couple of series that are all like this whole reincarnation, and in particular, though, this one kind of struck a chord with me because in The Faraway Paladin, it's kind of the same idea. This person filled with so much regret from being a failure in their previous life that they are very, very dedicated to success in this new life. And I don't know. I mean, again, like, I don't know. To me, I really like The Faraway Paladin, so I don't know if I'd be in a big hurry to read this one as well, just because it doesn't really strike me as being a really different take on things. But then again, I don't know. If any of you are reading the manga, I'd be kind of curious to hear your thoughts on it in the comments down below. Because, of course, you know, I'm just getting these little descriptions from various websites and stuff. It doesn't really compare with actually reading components of the story. So if you've read the manga, I mean, obviously it's probably a little different than the light novel, but at least gives you an idea of what it's all about. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. At number 4, with 9,718 copies sold, volume number 5 of Genjitsu Shugi Yuusha no Oukoku Saikenki, or it's also known as How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom. Now, this series is licensed in English by J-Novel Club. They have caught up to the Japanese release, so volume 5 just came out. They have released up to volume number 4, so we're probably going to be waiting for a little while until volume 5 can get translated for J-Novel Club. I've reviewed the first 2 volumes of this series. I really want to read the rest of it because the first 2 volumes were really, really cool. So this series is basically an isekai again, but instead of taking a look at a hero who is summoned to another world and has these incredible powers or some kind of incredible weapon, it focuses much more on this character sort of putting modern day philosophy and building techniques and empire building concepts into rebuilding this small kingdom that's kind of fallen a little bit into ruin. And it was a very, very different take on the whole isekai thing, and there was several sort of smart components to it, and it had some decent characters, so I really did enjoy the first 2 volumes, and like I said, I want to get caught up with it. I do recommend it, so like I said, you can pick it up in English and basically get caught up right to where they are up to the latest release that they have in Japan. At number 3, with 10,285 copies sold, Volume 17 of Seirei Tsukai no Blade Dance, aka Blade Dance of the Elementalers. There has been an anime adaptation from this. It had 12 episodes plus 6 specials. It aired July to September of 2014, licensed in English by Sentai Filmworks, and you can actually stream the series still on Crunchyroll. No license for the light novels in English. However, now we talked a bit about this with the Scarlet Bullet or whatever it is a couple of weeks ago. The manga for this series is licensed by the same company, Digital Manga, but only the first volume's been released, and that was published in October of 2014. So it looks to me like the license has lapsed or the company has fallen apart. I really have no idea what's happened in that situation. This story, in a world where elemental spirits are summoned, there exists a tournament that grants not only a single wish to its champion, but also blessing and protection to her home country. Therefore, nations race to produce the next Ren Ashbel, the strongest blade dancer, and only spirit elementalers, who are all pure young maidens, are able to qualify. 16-year-old Kamito Kazahaya, the only male spirit elementaler, is forced to attend Aracia Spirit Academy, where he meets other spirit contractors around his age. One of these is the red-haired Claire Rouge, who insists that Kamito become her contracted humanoid spirit. But Kamito cannot forget his one and only wish, to take back his former partner, Reshtia Ashtal. Join Kamito as he, with the help of his sword spirit Terminus Est, seeks to become the next champion in the upcoming blade dance of the Elementalers. Reminds me of the whole setup of Infinite Stratos, right? The one male dude who can do something that nothing but girls can do otherwise, and then forced into a school where he's surrounded by nothing but girls, who I'm sure many of them fall in love with him, and there's harem hijinks, and, well, I don't know, but I'm just guessing, because that seems to be what always happens in these type of stories. If you've seen the anime, feel free to leave your impressions of it in the comments down below. Am I way off base? Is it better than Infinite Stratos, the similar sort of storyline, or is it about the same, or, is it, pretty much the same? At number 2, with 16,184 copies sold, Volume 13 of Saanai Heroine no Soda Takata, aka How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend. This was number 1 last week, so it's at least managed to hang on to the number 2 spot. 2 seasons of the anime were produced, the first licensed by Aniplex, with the second season being licensed by Amazon. You can at least watch the first season on Crunchyroll. I believe you have to have that whole Amazon strike to see the second season. There 25 episodes in total were produced. They covered volumes 1 to 7. The manga for this series has been licensed by Yen Press, but there's currently no license for the light novels in English. Finally, at number 1, we have, with 47,645 copies sold, Volume 7 of Yokoso Jitsuru Yoku Shijo Shugi no Kiyoshitsue, or, much easier for me to pronounce, Classroom of the Elite. Now, when I started doing these videos, Classroom of the Elite dominated the top 10. That was at the point where the anime was showing during the summer season. It obviously was doing incredibly well because not only were the most recent volume in the top 10, but even volumes 1, 2, and 3, and then I think the week after 4 and 5 got in there. Like, for a couple weeks there, Classroom of the Elite really held on to a dominant position in the top 10, holding at least 3 to 4 spots. Now, for this one, obviously, this is the most recent volume, volume number 7. We do not have a license for the light novel or the manga in English. You can watch, of course, the 12-episode anime. It's streaming on Crunchyroll. From what I can tell, it covered volumes 1 to 3, using some material from a side volume, volume 4.5. But from what I can see on the Reddit boards, a lot of people are saying there were a lot of omissions and alterations to some of the material from the light novels, that there was quite a bit of a change. So even if you watch the anime, a lot of people are saying if the light novels ever become available, or I guess, if you're reading any fan translations, you should still read the books because there's quite a bit of material there that was not covered in the anime. In fact, they said there were some episodes of the anime that really had almost no basis whatsoever in the books. They were so cut and pieced and everything else. So, I mean, it seems like to me like the anime was really well received, obviously. Like I said, it seems to have really spurred a big, huge jump in the sales of this series. But again, if you're thinking this is one of those series you can watch the anime and skip over a couple of volumes of the light novels, apparently not such a good idea. Now, if you're not familiar with this series, Kodo Ikusai Senior High School, a leading prestigious school with state-of-the-art facilities where nearly 100% of students go on to university or find employment. The students there have the freedom to wear any hairstyle and bring any personal effects they desire. Kodo Ikusai is a paradise-like school, but the truth is that only the most superior of students receive favorable treatment. The protagonist, Kiyotaka Ayano Koji, is a student of D class, which is where the school dumps its inferior students in order to ridicule them. For a certain reason, Kiyotaka was careless on his entrance examination and was put in D class. However, after meeting Suzune Horikita and Kikyo Kushida, 2 other students in his class, Kiyotaka's situation begins to change. So if you watch the anime, let me know in the comments down below what you think, or if you've read some of the translated volumes, like fan-translated volumes, let me know in the comments down below. I know a lot of you were pretty hyped about Classroom of the Elite when the anime was showing, when we were talking about these other volumes a couple months ago. So again, what do you think now that you've had time to sort of reflect on the finished anime series? What did you think of that series? So those are the top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan for the week of October 23rd to the 29th of 2017. I will be back here next week to do this list all over again and see how many of this week's new entries can manage to hang in there on the top 10. Certainly, like with Kino and Overlord, they're really on that edge. They might get edged out next week, but who knows? It all depends, I guess, on what gets released and what people decide to pick up that week. So if you love light novels and you're brand new to the channel, you should consider subscribing. I do this countdown every single week, as well as doing 2 to 3 reviews of light novels every week as well. Thank you for joining me in this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.